Yo guys, it's JJ here, and today I'm going to be walking you through how to make a hard little baby beat, and we're going to be using that kind of like triplet sound. So before we get into this, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. We're on the road to 1,000 subs, really pushing it for 2023, so all the support is actually appreciated. But without further ado, let's get into the video. First things first, we got ourselves an instance of Omnisphere. We opened it up, we go in the guitar packs, and we're using the classic Nylon guitar. Second thing you need to know, because we're using this nice little triplet kind of thing, we're doing it at 130 BPM, because between 130 to 140, even 120 to 140 actually, I think that's when it sounds its best. But let me show you the pattern I came up with. So as you can see, we've got ourselves a quite basic pattern here, nothing complicated as you can see, but I'll obviously walk you guys through it. So the first thing you need to know is we made this in the scale of F minor, and all I did initially was lay down these root notes, as you can see, because when it comes to Little Baby, you want to kind of have like this like upward building kind of motion, or just downwards. That's my opinion really, but I decided to go upwards, starting from the C sharp into D sharp into F, and then ending it with the G sharp. And we can see that we're making use of these notes in tension that are here. But once I've done that, I decided to start building the chords for the guitar in that triplet, as you could see, going from 1/3 beat. All I did was, before this was all the way up here, it actually started down here. And when I zoom in, you can see I've got this nice little triplet melody going. And this was the initial pattern I had laid. Let me just make it a bit more clear. So this was the actual pattern I had going from a C sharp to a G sharp. Two notes in tension, as you can see, part of that tension thing in scale, making it a bit of a dark vibe, going all the way up to a C, only using these notes in tension, just keep going. And then for a bit of variation, instead of going back up to the G sharp, I took it down to the F. And that's essentially the whole thing repeated over. And I repeated it and repeated it for these two bars until we reach the end. And then, as you can see, I'm following the root notes here, from a D to the D sharp. And as you can see, I'm following these root notes, going from D sharp to D sharp, and climbing it up into the F, and then up to the G. But of course, all this was pitched up an octave, that it laid up here, wasn't clashing with any of these notes here. And then I added this for a little bit of variation in the end. And then before I play you guys the melody, the key thing you need to know is I used Alt-R to randomize my velocities, making the guitar sound more human, more natural, more normal. So without further ado, this is what the guitar sounds like. And there we have it, sounding super nice, super Little Baby-esque with that nice little triplet thing we have going. And of course, time for the effects. First thing I've got here is an EQ, cutting off a lot of the lows, and then a few of the frequencies in the mids, and then boosted a few of the highs. And the next thing I did was got Valhalla Vintage Verb, added a fair amount of reverb to it, as you can see, and that's all I actually did. Now, next up, I got myself an instance of Piano V3, and the preset I chose was the Black Forest preset. And all I really used this piano was to really thicken up the main bass line, as you can see, using these low notes in the 2 and the 3, and then also some of the 4. Just a big range of frequencies, as you can see. And all it does is follow the root notes of the guitar, except I played this nice little thing if I zoom in again, using the 1/3 beat here, coming into like a nice little bounce, giving it a bit of more rhythm. And that's all I really did. Nothing more, nothing less. And the last thing I really did to this melody was click Alt-S, just to strum it a bit, making it sound more human. So this is what the guitar sounds like with these really nice keys. And there we have it, sounding super nice, super lush, filling out that frequency range, exactly what we needed. As for effects, again, very similar. A lot of EQing, and then some reverb. And as you can see, I stereo separated this a bit, like 40%, just so it's not really far front in the mix. It's not the main component of the melody. It's not a nice little element, as I said, to fill in that frequency range. So that's why I stereo separated it that much. Next thing I got is an instance of Kontakt, and I'm using a preset from Vocalize 3, as you can see, the Gravity Pack 8. I'm using this preset here, and all I did was take it down by 1 semitone so it matches the key of F. And this is the pattern I had laid. These two vocal chops playing, and then these two vocal chops, just adding a bit more of a layer to it, filling in that extra space, and it sounds really fire. So this is what it sounds like. And there you have it. And as you can see, it fills in that extra space, sounds super lush, and it's exactly what we want for a Lil Baby beat. As for effects again, much more EQing. This time actually a very heavy amount of reverb. And as you can see as well, I stereo separated this 100% just to keep it nice and wide in the mix, not too far in your face, but again, it does the job. Next up, we got ourselves a preset from Analog Lab 5, and it's called the Old Knife preset. This preset's essentially a bell, but all I have to do is play this nice little kind of pattern, again, as you can see in this nice little triplet kind of melody, playing it over and over. However, at the end of the 2 bar, I cut it off, but at the end of the full 4 bar, I have like this nice little variation, as you could say. And all I did was just copy and paste this 4 bar over to make a full 8. And then the last thing I actually did was click Alt R, randomize my velocity, just making it sound more human, and that's exactly what we want. Without further ado, this is what the melody sounds like. And there we have it, sounding super nice, fills in that extra space that we want. It's a nice little bit of a counter as well, so that's why I really messed with this bell. And as for the effects, I got myself pretty much like a telephone EQ going on here. I added a very basic Fruity Love filter to really push down those highs. And then again, a fair amount of reverb on top of it all. And the last thing I did to this was stereo separate it around 60%, just to widen it in the mix again, because it's another component, I don't want it to be too far front. And now to really wrap the melody up, of course you need a bass line. So I got myself Omnisphere, got myself the Growler Moog bass, and I'll play down the root notes, as you can see right here. And without further ado, this is what the full sample sounds like. And there we have it. Sounds super Lil Baby-esque, lovely little triplet flow, really good melody. I'm super content with it. Sounds super dark and ambient as well. Ticks all the boxes. So now let's go into the drums. First things first, we got ourselves a very basic clap pattern, and of course we're using the Lex Luger slap clap. Simple pattern, repeated over for the full 8 bar. So let me show you the hi-hats. Starting off with the hi-hats, it's a very interesting one. I actually didn't go for a simple 2-step. I decided to give it a bit more of a nice little bounce. So I kept it into the 3rd step thing, like magnet tool, and when you zoom in you can see it's all within that kind of 3rd step thing, playing these nice little hi-hats with these nice little rolls. And then when it came to here, all I had to do was like click on one of these notes, hold right click, switch to the paintbrush tool, and if you click shift and drag, as you can see, that's exactly what I did here. Just shift and drag, and that's how you have it. But once I did that, I highlighted all of these notes, and then I played with the velocity, giving it this nice little spring roll. I did a few more rolls here, and as you can see, I kind of just rinsed this pattern over into the new part of the 4 bar. But then at the very end, for a bit of variation, I didn't add this roll, I added this roll instead. And it sounds really dope, to be honest with you. At the end of it all, it was just a 4 bar loop, repeated over. So without further ado, this is what the hi-hats and the clap sounds like. And there we have it, super dope bounce from the hi-hats. Again, simple clap because that's what we need. But now, time for the 808s. And of course, as you can see, I've got myself actually a different 808. It's called a Pierre 808. That's an 808 I've been using. And all I really did was just follow the root notes again, you know, keeping it simple, doing my thing. And this is the nice little pattern I came up with. It's essentially this pattern, just copy and paste it up over into here. And another thing you want to know is, this pattern is essentially the same as a kick pattern. You can see I've just got my kick laid out in the same pattern as my 808, except it's all of course on the C. But the last thing I did to both my kick and my 808, which I preach in every single video, is to max your velocities. This is so key. Makes your 808 and your kick punch through the mix much harder. Really makes it into that trap beat that we love to hear. Really has those booming 808s, and that's how you kind of get that sound going through. So always max your velocities. And the way you do this is you can control A, use your right scroller wheel and drag. That's how you do it. You max it out to the very top, as you can see down here. Makes it really punchy, but I'm gonna demonstrate it. So this is what the 808s and kick sound like. And there we have it, sounding super hard and really doing the job. Next up, we got a very basic open hat pattern. Essentially, this repeats over literally every single one bar, and it just goes all the way to the end. And then the last final thing I added to the whole beat was this nice little snare. Just have it like creating this roll in the end here, and I did this if I go on magnet again, 1/3 beat. That's how I did it. And then I used my right click and then just dragged to change the velocities, as you can see. And all I did was just copy and paste it over to make the full 8 bar. So without further ado, this is what the whole beat sounds like. And folks, there we have it, the full beat. But before we end this video, time to walk you all through the arrangement of my beat. So considering this is a Lil Baby kind of vibe, I first started off with a 16-bar intro, got myself the bass, the vocal phrasing, and the guitar playing. Then for the second part of the 16, which is the second 8-bar, introducing the counter melody from the bells, introducing the hi-hats and the kicks, you know, letting the artist know like, alright, we're about to hit the actual chorus. Insert producer tag just before the chorus hits. Pretty much play my essential drums, which is the kick, 808, hi-hat, and clap, alongside the main melody. Then we play it with the counter melody and all the drums in, as you can see. So that's essentially our chorus right here. Now we enter the verse section, which is these 3 8 bars over here. Opening into the verse, I introduce the piano, you know, because a bit of variation. Take away the counter melody. Keep the drums basic, but no kick, because you want to kind of have that subtle little change, you know, showing it's like, okay, we've come off the chorus now, we're chilling. Then we hit the midway segment, going in a bit heavier, introducing more drums, which are the hats and the kick. Then we hit this part of the verse, which is what I like to call the pre-hook, because it's a pre-hook, you know, 8 bar before the chorus hits. So take away all the drums, reintroduce the bass and the vocals along the keys and the guitar. And again, I've got my chorus going here. However, I decided to keep the vocals within them because, you know, variation, keeping it dope for the artist and the listener. And then I kind of pretty much did my own thing again for the next verse, introducing the bass with a kick and a clap, you know, kind of doing like a little breakdown section. We come again into the middle part. We've got pretty much everything going, except we're not using 808s, we're using still the bass, using kicks, hi-hats, and open hats. Then for the actual 8 bar before the chorus, the final chorus may I add, I'm using the vocals, the counter melody, and the 808 this time for the pre-hook, because, you know, a little bit of switch up, keeping it interesting, keeping this nice little pattern going. And then for the chorus again, we got ourselves the vocals, we got ourselves the counter melody, and these drums that I introduced to the second half. And that is actually the whole beat for you guys. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you guys like this kind of content. If you got any suggestions, let me know down below. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Appreciate all the love. All of my free kits are down below in the description as well if you want them. And of course, thanks for watching. Peace.